What's up guys, welcome back to another episode of Overrated. I got a question for you. Between the story, the characters, the music, the visuals, and the gameplay, what would you rank as being the best part of Super Mario Odyssey? What about the worst? I've been thinking about this for a while now, and I think I finally come up with my answer. But trying to critically analyze and break down a Mario game seems like a pretty good example of missing the entire point of just about every single reason why we play these games in the first place. Mario's never promised us to be anything more than simple and childlike fun, executed to levels of perfection only possible from Nintendo. And maybe the guy that invented the water bucket over the door prank. Classic. Critics gave Mario Odyssey an average of 97 points out of 100, which is huge, but when you factor in the user scores, it brings the average down just a little bit to a 93. So to figure out if these scores are too high and the game's overrated, we're gonna rank each of the 5 different parts of the game we talked about before from the worst to the best, and then we'll give our own overall score of it at the end. Alright, let's do this. In last place are the characters. Nintendo's pretty much always been top Nintendog when it comes to making likable and memorable characters, always introducing fun new people to get to know in each game that they put out. I mean, even one of my favorite parts in this game is traveling around and meeting all the locals, checking out their different cultures and stuff. And Mario, Peach, and Bowser are pretty much the same as they've always been. Maybe a little more expressive than usual, but they're just doing their regular thing. The dynamic has shifted a little between Mario and Bowser though. Instead of throwing him by the tail or whatever, Mario decides that punching him in the balls is the way to go this time around. The other bad guys in the game are, well, they're stomach churning. They're called Brutals, and apparently they're wedding planners, but we never really see them do anything. Pretty much they just stand around on a boat until it's time to get their beans tossed by Mario too. Look at the mom. Look at her face. It's traumatizing. Dude, they're gonna put her in the next Mario Kart game, aren't they? Dry Mama Brutal, probably. That's gross. I just don't see a single thing to like about the Brutals. But even more disappointing than them is Cappy, Mario's sidekick in this game, who at least as a character just doesn't have any presence in the game at all. I can't remember any memorable moments with him. Mostly what I remember of him is just him repeating gameplay hints and me desperately trying to skip them as fast as I could. It's like Nintendo felt like they had to balance out how awesome he is as a gameplay mechanic by giving him a super bland personality or something. Last place feels right for the characters. It's weird not falling in love or at least being able to remember every character like I usually do in these games. In fourth place is the story. So the twist they put on the usual Mario formula is that this time, Bowser's running around the entire planet, looking for the best possible wedding items to throw Peach what looks like it's gonna be the gnarliest wedding in the history of the Mushroom Kingdom. Which I gotta say is a little more romantic than anything I've ever seen Mario do for her. Just saying. Each of the different worlds you visit have self-contained little mini-stories going on too, because Bowser screws everything up as he goes around hogging all the specialty items to get ready for the wedding. He's like trampling the shit out of all the flowers from the Wooded Kingdom, and somehow manages to clog the sparkling water tower in the Seaside Kingdom. And of course, all the locals get pissed off about the disrespectful tourists invading their country. Come on, Bowser, you're ruining the Mushroom Kingdom's reputation for the rest of us, you dillhole. It's cool though, because all these mini-stories bring the game a little bit more color. It just makes everything feel a little more alive and authentic, so fixing the locals' problems is fulfilling. It's mostly lighthearted, and the stakes never really feel all that high. And I actually think that Odyssey could have gotten away with making the trouble Bowser causes seem even more catastrophic. I know it's not exactly what we expect from Mario games, but Nintendo does seem intent to shake things up lately, and making the conflict feel a little more desperate would have been kinda cool, I think, and given the story more of a juicy edge to clamp our teeth down into. It is built around a more fun and fleshed out idea than usual though, so I'm pretty happy with it overall. Fourth place still feels right for the story. The visuals come in at third place. Dang, looking good! From a strictly visual point of view, I've been a huge Nintendo fan for over 70 years now, give or take, and it's nice to see them willing to experiment with new ideas for their biggest series. Odyssey really is beautiful, but it throws some totally unexpected visual curveballs at our eyeballs. It's a lot of balls. There's so much visual variety in this game. Everything looks so polished and vibrant, and the attention to detail makes exploring all these little corners of the game fun. And the way the levels are put together pulls your eyes over and through really nice natural contours and lines. It's like the visual equivalent of putting butter on your spaghetti. It's beautiful. The game completely reinvents itself every time you move to a new level, which can make it feel like it doesn't have a consistent visual style. So as great as this game consistently looks from a technical standpoint, some stuff stuff can still just feel a little off to me. The new Donk humans are tucked away like all the way down into the uncanny valley. And is Paulina one of them? She looks more like a Mushroom Kingdom character to me. But then why is she like twice as tall as even Peach then? Are non-native citizens of New Donk City allowed to become mayor? What's going on here? Who's the weird one in this world? It's almost like playing in a surrealist piece of art where Mario, the focal point of the game, is the oddity in the world. But somehow, I still just love being in this game. Even when things get weird, it's at least nicely put together with clear and open environments to run through. While it's cool that Nintendo expanded the setting so much farther than it's ever been before, I'm hoping that in the next game they'll tighten up the style into something a little more comfy and cohesive. But that's just me. I'm sure there are a lot of people that love the game for this exact reason, so yeah, whatever. The music gets second place. Just like the visuals, this soundtrack features the biggest stylistic spectrum there's ever been in a Mario game, but it also knows how to pull back and let other parts of the game take over if necessary. Mario Odyssey's music is constantly letting itself swell in different directions, one moment leaving us in complete silence and letting the visuals take center stage, but then sweeping right into some of the biggest moments in the game that are centered entirely around the soundtrack, like in the New Donk City Music Festival, which is maybe the most memorable celebration of a game's heritage ever. Yeah, it feels a little masturbatorial, but honestly, who am I to judge? And I absolutely love the track that plays over the closing sequence. I felt like a kid again, and I know that's completely cliche to say, but I was like embarrassed at how genuine of a smile it put on my face. The atmosphere of this entire game is just phenomenal, and the soundtrack is the backbone of those feelings, picking and choosing its places carefully to have the greatest effect. Every single song has layer upon tasty layer to munch into, full of flexible texture and dynamic instrumentation. Like this track. Dude, this is like what's playing during Tim Burton's Wet Dream, and we get to play inside of it. You can cross that off your bucket list. That's one of those bad jokes. The only complaint I can really come up with is that sometimes the track doesn't match the aesthetic of the level it's paired up with perfectly. But when the songs are this good, it kinda doesn't really matter. And that's only like one or two of the tracks anyways. Even though I still think I like the music in a couple of other Mario games a little bit more, all of the variety in this soundtrack probably makes it the series' most musically ambitious success. Second place definitely goes to the music. And so, probably to no one's surprise, first place goes to the gameplay. So pretty much you gotta collect a bunch of power moons to fuel your ship so that you can keep chasing Bowser around the planet. What's really smart about the way this game is designed is that there's like 18 billion power moons to find, with some that are ridiculously easy and some that are like ball-numbingly hard. So no matter how good or bad you are at this game, it'll be fun, new, and beatable, and it has a super high skill cap so that it'll only get more fun the better you get at it. Frisbeeing Cappy at enemies to brainjack them is another notch in Nintendo's bedpost of simple but awesome innovation. And while it's not as immediately mind-blowing as Mario Galaxy's physics-bending mechanics, it makes each new level feel just different enough to keep the game exciting all the way through. Shigeru Miyamoto said that he never wants to make another game in a series without innovating somewhere along the way, and the Cappy power is exactly the kind of innovation that he's talking about that delivers on every player's expectations and I think in a lot of ways exceeds them. Having complete control over both Mario and the camera makes the action fluid, and even though it never feels fast-paced, your eyes are constantly being pulled towards like 5 more cool things to go do and explore. And because the layout of each level is just compact enough, it never feels like a massive chore to get from point A to point B. If I could change one thing about the way this game plays, it's that I think it would be kinda cool to change all of the non-major story moons in the game into pieces of moon, like how they sometimes do in Zelda for heart containers. I know this is kinda contradictory to what I was saying earlier, but what if each time you complete one of the minor challenges, you only got one piece of a moon, and when you collect 4 pieces of a moon, you get a whole moon, and then they could've just changed the amount of moons that you need to move on to the next level. I don't know, I think it could've been kinda cool, and it definitely would've made getting whole moons feel more special. There's just so many of them, boy I tell ya. So Super Mario Odyssey has pretty much everything you'd want in another Mario game, and in some cases a lot more. So while it does bobble and drop the ball in a couple of very small ways, it doesn't matter because the good outweighs the bad to such a ridiculous degree. While the combined 93 points that critics and users give is a huge score, our final rating came out to a 91. I guess that means that we think this game is maybe just a tiny bit overrated. But I mean, not really. It's something that anyone could and would enjoy. Hey, thanks for watching. Let us know how you would rank the different parts of the game or the game overall. We'd like to know. Also, drop by our Twitch channel if you want to talk to us more about the game, or anything else. And leave some recommendations for other games you think we should review in the future. See you next time.